Good morning, everyone. I'm still assuming that everyone listens to this in the morning, the first thing they do.
It should be your alarm. If it's not your alarm, if you're not waking up to the sweet tones of our voice, then what are you doing? I always liked in the movie Groundhog Day how his alarm did tune. It was like the radio DJs. The first thing he heard when he woke up in the morning was a little bit of that Sonny and Cher song, and then he heard the radio DJs. So it's like his clock knew when to turn on.
Are we missing that nowadays? Have we, with the fact that we have Alexas and iPhones, like, did we miss the sweet sounds of like a radio?
Yeah, Alexa
morning?
took away my radio DJ's job. Now I no longer call
Alexa
my radio
killed the radio
DJ.
star.
Exactly. I no longer call my radio DJ and say, "Hey, Beep Opperoony, play up the latest tunes on the hit parade." Now I tell Alexa to do that.
Do you
Beep
have an
Opperoony,
Alexa?
of course, is the famous radio DJ around my place. I do have an Alexa, but I leave it unplugged because I'm afraid of it.
Skynet, right?
It was given to me as a gift, and I use it as like. So here's what I use it for.
Okay,
I have
tell us.
a Bluetooth speaker in my computer room, I guess you could say. That doesn't have a very good range. So if I'm at my desk and I want to listen to music on my Bluetooth speaker, it cuts out because my body is in between my phone and my speaker usually. So what I can do,
and people know that human flesh is like lead, where it just blocks
exactly.
out. Okay,
that's why Superman can't see through us.
Me and you.
Yeah, but so what I do is I play Spotify on my Alexa, and then I hook my Alexa up to my Bluetooth speaker. The two are much closer. And it works perfectly. The rest of the time I leave it unplugged because I don't want it to listen to me.
That sounds like too much work.
It's really not. All you have to do is go into Spotify and you click the button that says like listen on Alexa. And that's it. And then you just have the Alexa hooked up to the Bluetooth, which doesn't take long. I think you can do that on the app. This is your fucking Alexa tips episode. I'm giving you all the life hacks.
Did you guys know you could ask it to play Jeopardy in the mornings or wherever? I think.
Or whenever. It can be. Oh, man. I wonder if they're going to say anything now that Alex is dead. Sorry.
R.I.P. Alex.
Yeah.
I don't have an Alexa, but I do have a Google Mini or whatever like that. It's the Alexa knockoff. I also have a Google Home, I think is what it's called. And then I have another one because I don't know how my extended family like got their hands on like a bunch of them. Maybe it's one of those things where like on Black Friday, you're shopping at Best Buy and on your way out there's like, oh, that's like $40, let's just grab some of those. So I have two of them. I don't use it at all, and I know if I say the magic words that I don't want to say, that I can't even spell it for you because
It knows how to spell?
yeah, it's that advanced. If I say like okay blank, it'll definitely turn on. So I'm not gonna say it.
It's a shame. It's a shame that Google Maps is so ubiquitous now, because if the podcast had gotten huge, and those like GPSs with celebrity voices were still a thing, we could have like recorded a GPS.
Who says we can't?
I mean, we could still do that, but no one. I don't see any TV ads for Yoda GPSs anymore.
That's right. And I don't know if I think half of our patrons live in like New York, so I don't think that they would even.
I guess we could give like, hey, take
off the fucking
train.
Subway. Yeah. Get out here, you asshole.
Exactly.
So hi guys, welcome to us. Thank you for that beginning, but welcome to Style and Direction, a menswear podcast without the stuffiness. I am your host, Ethan M. Wong.
And I'm Spencer, the other host.
Oh, are you wiping your face there?
I am wiping my face.
Yeah, nice. Good on you. We're fresh off a stream. I said that because we're recording this a Sunday after we did something, but I'm not gonna tell you what stream it is, so you guys could think this could be whenever. Okay, I'm gonna have that.
It's probably after one of our Saturday streams.
Yeah. There's the hint for you.
Yeah.
And so today is kind of a big topic. We're finishing off. First off, happy or not happy 2020. We're very happy to get rid of this year. And we've been talking about a lot of different topics. We've been doing We talked about watches, which was a big deal. We had a lot of fun with Aldous. We featured Young Chomsky a couple of months ago. We talked about money and income and everything. And I thought we'd finish it off with another topic that is kind of related to the money thing, and that is influencers and hustle culture. And I know that doesn't seem menswear related, but when you think about it, kind of is, because a lot of guys want to be menswear influencers, or at least mainstream guys.
I mean, yeah, because this is more, I guess, like the Instagram side of things than the actual industry side of things.
Yes.
So we're not really, we're not going to be like, it's not, we're not talking about like fucking, Drake's doing influencers or whatever. We're talking about the random guys you find on your explore page.
Yes, and it's kind of funny because, I think a few people, like Simon Crompton and Handcut Radio, Alex Vetkovich, have voiced their distaste of influencers. I know that, like, in the whole, the dressing up in a dress down world, Simon talks about how he doesn't like social media and how, it provides like people get the, raw bad style advice, I guess. And then, of course, from the industry side, because Alex works at with Birch and everything to like have creative strategies. Obviously, a lot of brands seem like they want to use influencers, but in reality, like, that's not a good move. So I thought we'd kind of talk about that because it involves a little bit of industry, but it also involves much more of the enthusiast side, which is obviously where Spencer and I come in, because we don't work in the industry. We are just guys who like to buy cool clothes and wear cool clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the unfortunate part that it turns into a business for a lot of people, and it turns into something to aspire to kind of turn your social media out, which we don't like. So let's first talk about influencers, because Spencer and I have talked about this. We've talked about this with like Aldous, and like, what exactly is an influencer? And people say, well, Ethan, don't you have followers? Don't you aspire to be an influencer? Don't you want your podcast to have a bunch of followers and everything? And I'm like, yes and no, kind of, because I'm mainly talking about like influencers with a capital I, or like the job, when your job is being an influencer. Like, I think that, Spencer and I follow a couple people, like, I think you could consider Young Chomsky to be an influencer because based on the clout he has, or whatever.
I mean, don't you? I feel like being an influencer has to be kind of a conscious thing at this point. You can't, if you want to be, if you're an influencer, you have to be actively influencing. I think there's a difference between having like a lot of followers and clout on the internet and being an influencer.
See, but the thing is, a lot of people just assume that. Like, they don't think of it that way, because I've gotten to a lot of, as you guys know from my Instagram, sometimes I talk about influencer and hustle culture a lot, usually in relations to like capitalism and everything, and a lot of people say, like, why, like, aren't you that kind of thing? And I think, no, it like Spencer says, it's about the conscious decision to be like, I'm gonna be an influencer.
Yeah, because at this point in 2020, there's no such thing as like an organic like influencer. I think all of them, it's like it's a job that you do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like if we compare it to like Ethan Newton and Mark Cho, I think a lot of regular people would assume they're also influencers because, they have a lot of clout and they do have an opinion. They're an authority on certain things. But the difference is like, well, I don't want to say this is also why it's an interesting topic, because their livelihood is kind of based on their clout a little bit, right? Because they started brands, and it helps that they are sometimes the personification of the brand. Like, Ethan Newton is very tied into what Bryson stands for. Mark Cho, if you listen to the excellent Blammo interview he had with Jeremy very recently, a lot of the Armory's DNA is Mark Cho, right? Ring jacket, Italian style, fairly conservative overall, a little bit of Ivy in there. So I think there is a difference between that, which is kind of what I like, when we say when you're on social media, you tend to follow brands, designers, people who create something, as opposed to an influencer, the conscious one that is just kind of about selling brands that are not their own, But of course, as we know now, influencers are dying, and so where do you go from there? You start making merch.
What's happening to them?
There's a virus.
There is?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Okay. That wasn't supposed to be a COVID joke. I meant like there's a social media virus.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, what is there a pun that you can make? Coronavirus, COVID, whatever, and influencers. COVID fluid. Well, that just sounds like you have a cold. COVID fluencers.
Yeah. But God, I can't think of a joke for that one. But I think one of the big things, because we talked about it kind of last year, which was the menswear YouTubers. Which I think is like the kind of the classic influencer. Like the old school version where like you're a YouTuber. You're like shilling a bunch of different stuff. Affiliate links and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're on the it's easy to differentiate those things in menswear, right? It's very easy. But like when you think about the other way, it's more of like the living billboard kind of a thing, but less overt. It's not like you're saying there are some influencers who are like, oh, can't start the day without my fucking watch, and they're like walking out the door like looking at it. There was one guy I remember who every post on this guy's Instagram was sponsored. Like there was one where bought a pizza and it was all like, he's like, oh, like can't start my Saturday without ordering a pizza from Papa Joe's. Shout out Papa Joe's, #ad #sponsored.
There's a guy I follow on Instagram, and I don't want to like call him out, but sometimes he does posts that look like they're sponsored posts, but they're not, and it's pathetic. It's kind of like it's like he'll post a photo of him, and it's like there's a fucking whiskey bottle, and like the label is facing the camera, and he has like a menswear book out, and again the cover is facing the camera, and it's a very staged shot. And it's like, and I'm like, wait, none of this is sponsored. He's just like doing this for fun. What the fuck?
So here's the thing. So obviously, like, a lot of people like I work now in marketing, and I work with talent management and everything like that. So there is a little bit of that kind of seeping in. But again, the difference is that the talent that I work with are like they create things. You know what I mean? Like it's not like their life isn't supposed to be. The whole point of the job isn't just to make life look pretty. This is kind of it's like an added bonus, kind of like a celebrity or a what do you call it, an athlete or something. But so obviously I've done like research on this. I studied marketing in college. I did also look into becoming an influencer very early on in the blog, which I can speak out about in a bit. But it's this idea that when you start out, you have to take those pictures in order to attract the potential for future sponsorships, because it's almost like and nowadays, right, like photographers use Instagram, graphic designers use Instagram because it's like a portfolio, right? Like you want to show off your work. So when your work is to make your life look pretty, if everything that you post looks like it could be sponsored, it makes it an easier decision for brands to be like, okay, well, all they gotta do is take that picture again. This time they tag us and they say #ads and we'll pay him. And that idea of being such a fucking billboard, or aspiring to be a billboard, or I guess the more accurate term is a lifestyle magazine. It's like it's absolutely insane to me. Like it's so, I don't want to say it's evil, but it's just so, it feels wrong. Like I always say that in Spencer, of course, we've talked about this before, even on the stream, where when you inject money into your life, and by that I mean like when you're being paid to sponsor something or review something, we'll talk about that in a second too. It's so wrong. Like I, as a guy who, like we said in the lifestyle episode, all of our friends are like nerds or regular guys, and they post like regular stuff. So that's what I see on a daily basis. And if that just changed to like, a guy like has his hand on his car and like there's like a fucking whiskey. Well, don't drink and drive. Let's.
That's way cooler. If there's a dude,
but, it's an idea that
his car has an empty whiskey bottle, and the caption says, "Tonight I'm going to be a legend." #sponsored post, #ad.
God damn it. But and it's kind of sad, even again, as a guy who has a bunch of regular friends, some people who aren't as conscious about it, who don't come from a menswear standpoint, they aspire to be like that. Like they take pictures like influencers, do the whole like walking thing. And it's just really weird that, I guess with the death of print or especially with like lifestyle magazines, luxury magazines, the rise of the influencer in like the past like 10 years or so was kind of a big deal. And so these people have to have an Instagram page that is like that, and obviously there's a lot more. We'll focus more on the menswear, but like you see all these people like doing travel stuff, like all like the really dumb like the sun shining over like El Capitan, like the not the theater. I'm talking about like
Disney owned theater.
The nature area of Yosemite, all like the really like like those. I'm sure you've seen those pictures of like the tent and it's like a John Ford, like you're looking out, like that kind of thing. That could be that kind of view. It's just weird to me that people want to have this aspirational lifestyle, but maybe not weird because everyone has this kind of like I want to make it in life kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But the fact is, the more you know about it, the more you realize how fake and manufactured it is, right? People go to these places for those shoots. People go, like I've seen it plenty of times in that Asian American group, or I mean, there's a place like Subtle Asian Fashion, Subtle Asian Aesthetics. There's there's SGV Eats, which is nice because it promotes like usually small business, but it's also like, oh yeah, and it's a bonus. It's also Instagrammable,
I hate. I've talked about this. I hate Instagrammable food. I have no problem with like food that like is presented
looks pretty.
in it. Yeah. It looks pretty. But, like, when I see fucking, like, burgers that are rainbow and have fucking sprinkles on them and, like, cotton candy bullshit that is, like, meant to take a picture, like, and put it on Instagram, I'm like, this isn't food. Like, get out of here. Stop it.
Yeah, no. And so, obviously, it's easier to see those things, right, like, from, like, our fellow 20-year-old friends, right, or even sometimes our parents. I mean, it's nice fun. I know, obviously, like, I don't have that much of an issue of it. It's usually like a good group thing or try something new. But in terms of like menswear and lifestyle, it's like what Spencer said, it's a little bit different where it's like a shot of whiskey. It's a menswear book. You want to signal that you are that kind of thing. It's also like the chest shot of like your details, which is fine because we do that. But then when it's like turned into like repeatable content that is meant to be kind of like monetized and when these people are clearly searching for it or they aspire to be a big personality from it, it's a little bit off-putting, and you can always usually recognize this kind of stuff. There's a lot of pictures with cars, a lot of pictures with wine, watches and everything, the wrist stuff. And it's, when we talk about it on paper, it's really hard to differentiate, obviously, with like enthusiasts. And some people, like we've talked to in our Discord, some people just like taking a fit pic, right? Like they don't show their head, they show the chest because it's just they're on social media to share like an outfit, but again, it's more about when you add in the extra money, right? When you're adding
it's like I don't know, I think sometimes it can be hard to tell with the picture, other times it's very easy, but I don't know, the caption and shit, that's what makes it clear, like. Exactly.
Yeah. It's when the lines between real life and sponsored content are blurred because also like Spencer said, the caption it's kind of a telltale sign, but no one fucking reads captions, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and so when people see it, they're automatically kind of like, oh, that's cool. And I hope people kind of see how common this happens, right? Like, I don't want to point any fingers, but like a lot of the J Muser guys, like there's a lot of Faust wine in there, right? And we kind of notice a lot of them drink that same wine. Could be just that they all enjoy it, but it's they're like, I think they're featured in like the YOLO project, right? Or the WM Brown kind of thing. And of course the guys who are in that circle all kind of have pictures with the wine, and Petroisian NYC with all the caviar that they enjoy, and that's that's kind of I don't want to, like that's not inherently bad, but it's interesting to see. Like I'm wondering what the background is on that kind of stuff, right? There's also like all of those like Instagram guys who seemingly all wear Spear and McKay, and they all take the same pictures and all that kind of stuff. I'm curious if there's like an influencer marketing campaign on that, right? Like we also watched the documentary. With the biggest quotations with documentary.
It was an interview. It's not a documentary. It's an interview.
Yeah, with a little bit of editorializing on Tommy Balthazar. That's not his name. Baldassar. But it's like
it was the documentary about movement watches.
Movement, yeah. And I would say I would be very. Like, if you're listening to this, I would say don't be naive because a lot of these big brands, especially luxury ones, the ones that aspire to be, they will use influencer marketing campaigns. There is absolutely targeting about who they're talking to and who and what the reach is and why they are letting these people do what they do and everything.
My so what I from my point of view, I guess like what I think about a lot of marketing techniques and like, you know, stuff like that, it all seems like ritual and superstition. So I mean, it's like we talk like I think we're gonna get into it maybe a little bit later, but we talk about like the death of the influencer. But do you think that influencers actually like work, or is it something that people are still doing because it worked a couple years ago?
Well, I think so this is where I get into a lot of arguments online, right? Because I will say how, you know, you're trying to make real life look pretty, and you know, and it's okay, so I don't say that it's like work, but it's like there is a lot of like intentionality behind it. Like all these people take a bunch of pictures because they want to make sure everything looks the best it can be. You know, there's also like that whole thing with unfortunately women influencers, right? There's a lot of body dysmorphia, a lot of like, you know, editing of that kind of stuff that thankfully a lot of like models and Instagram personalities have come clean about like how awful it was, right? Like how many shots it took to suck in their gut, like just for the picture, right? I think that's awful. And you know, unfortunately, men don't really have to do that. You know, I don't know about fitness Instagrammers. I don't have nothing idea about that. But you know, they would argue that all of this constitutes work, right? And they're like, I have to hustle and make sure like I gotta post every day. I gotta do all this. I gotta basically game the algorithm in order to be successful. And it has worked. And, you know, obviously it can pay off in a certain extent. But, you know, if you look at it, a lot of the people who are the most successful have been doing this pre all of the algorithm changes, right? Like all of the, you know, when the feed was chronological, or before Instagram ads and everything. So these people already had clout, and you know, as we talked about, in the men's YouTubers, usually the people with previous clout just get bigger, and the people who start out, it's really tough to kind of break in.
No substitute for getting in early.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, again, they have told me that it is very important to do all this kind of stuff, and they, you know, none of the people I talked to have bragged about it, but of course when you talk about hustle culture, they will say like, yeah, you gotta get up, you gotta shoot a bunch of content, you know, you gotta take all the stuff, you know, oh, I did 3 outfits in one day kind of a thing. I remember, and this is not like, obviously articles of style is different now. They have, as we talked about, they have their own merch quotation, or technically they have their own product that they make now. You know, that's kind of where a lot of influencers, a lot of people with clout kind of move in that direction. But I did remember one time where he wore like 3 different outfits in one day. Because I was there, I was shooting with him, and he was interviewing me for his blog, and they, you know, brought a duffel bag. And I'll get into that because I used to do that shit very early on. But we'll finish off with those personal stories there. But yeah, again, back to the lines where real life sponsored content, like, and gaming the algorithm. I don't know if you know what Instagram pods are, but they, I don't know if they still exist, in menswear. I know there's a lot of references to it. I know in the Discord we've talked a little bit about it, but for those of you who don't know, it is basically, because the Instagram algorithm has changed to be non-chronological and be engagement based. First off, you know, it's kind of like Tinder, where if you're successful and you have a bunch of followers, and people with a lot of followers also comment on yours, it means that your content is prized above a regular person. Yeah. Like, you know, and it will show that more often.
It makes sense that Instagram and Tinder are both engagement based, because of course Tinder is a dating app. And what's the ultimate goal of dating?
What is it?
Getting engaged.
Oh, come on. So bad. God, we're gonna clip that one. That's gonna be in this stupid ass highlight that I do. But yeah, you know, and so basically, while in theory it's good to have engaging content, the ranking system for certain types of content, certain users, is obviously held at a higher regard than others. You know, so that's why you see sometimes a lot of these people, and then they recognize when you don't like it, so then it shows up later on. Like if you don't like it, you might see it later on again, right? And the way you game that is if you have an Instagram pod, not a podcast, but like a group chat of other influencers whose point it is to comment and like and share each other's content. That way it brings up their rankings. And that's so much work for Instagram.
All this stuff, the modern world is a nightmare for me because you have to be productive 24/7 if you want to succeed. And I can't maintain that. So I do not understand how people turn social media, which for me is a fun thing that I post on every once in a while, into like a full-time job. I don't understand that. It's such a terrible thing.
Yeah. It's so because it's free, right? You just do it, right? You post. You shouldn't really think. I mean, it's supposed to be Instagram, and obviously Spencer and I post old pictures that I've taken. It's not every picture is taken on that day, But it's really weird because and you know why all this work is in there, right, Spencer?
Yeah.
It's because their income is tied to it, right? They get money from these sponsorships, from these deals, and it's hard to kind of. I think the sad part is that it's moved from like a side hustle from like, all the influencers, all the old influencers, the old guard from like back in like 2011. A lot of them were regular models who also got supplemental income by posting things on their Instagram. But then now people are making that supplemental part and just kind of gaming it so that that's their full-time income, right? We were talking with our friend Win and Sam last night, and we were saying how, social media management, it's like one half of a job for a marketer, but some people just do that one part and then they start just having a bunch of clients just doing that one part of like a brand, so it is unsettling to see all the same people comment over and over on Instagram pods to kind of game the algorithm, because all of them are need that money. They need to be visual, they need to be visible to their audience to game the algorithm. And especially if there's an affiliate link or their money is tied to how many things they sell, or and the fact that we prize views and engagement, likes, comments as a metric for who to give for influencer campaigns. It's very unsettling, and seeing these people comment over and over, like you see it like, great shot, man, or love the tie, it's so good, or I have that same jacket, and it's the same guys over and over again. And obviously, I understand how this sounds, where maybe we're looking too far into it because they could be friends in real life. And as we've mentioned, I've noticed, if Jason comments on all of our stuff, it's because Jason and I are friends. But the only difference, I guess, is that there isn't any kind of income tied to this thing. Jason, Spencer, and I, we don't work in men's, or we don't have our own brand or our own, like, not even just merch, but we're not partnering with anyone to sell anything, right? But it's just weird when when it's not a regular person. And so it's always kind of this kind of brings me to the next point of like, okay, so what do you really like? What content, what do you actually enjoy wearing? And one route that's probably the most common for a menswear influencer is review focused content, right? And that's inherently against what I stand for, in a sense. I have reviewed things that I don't want to say I review it. I talk about something that I already bought with my own money and did the research on, and
you've gotten a couple free things for the purpose of a review a couple years ago. You don't do that as much.
Yeah, I don't
lately,
really. Yeah,
but
we'll finish. Yeah, I have done that back in the past, and I usually don't like doing that content because I have the fact that a brand comes to you and asks you to do something, like, as a guy whose entire focus is like being extremely happy and intentional with his clothes, it goes against that, right? Like, you're like, oh, I have to try it out. It's like when we talk about money, it's like, okay, do I want to buy this thing I never tried before, or do I want to use my money and buy something that I've always wanted, right? And I understand it. Like, there's food reviewers, right? There's movie reviewers,
and there's one reviewer who reviews life itself. Forrest McNeil. Yeah.
You gotta. I want you to review being a racist.
Divorce Pancakes Divorce is one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen. I'm gonna watch the whole series again.
Can I have a glass of water so I can just dunk it in and just swallow it? God damn it, dude. But yeah, the review-based content, you see a lot of guys do this, and I think there's a big difference here because I like permanent style. I think that I've gathered a lot of information from the brands that like Liverano. Like, I mean, that's like a tailor. He reviews a lot of stuff that maybe the Armory carries or that that world is kind of in, and he does write about it like food. I know I've heard some stories. I don't know how true they are, but maybe he does get a discount. He says he does it. I don't know if that's that's a more recent change or anything to it, but it to me it doesn't seem overly like editorialized. Like he reviews it and that's it. But the difference is that the other people, they constantly review stuff and they're always on the lookout for like the next brand, and these brands are usually like D2C brands, which is a very big marketing like gimmick that's kind of been around for like the past like five or so years. They're usually internet.
Well, they cut off
brands.
the middleman. Why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah,
the famous middleman.
You are the middleman.
Yeah.
And so it's really weird. And so what they do is that's a content that's engaging. It doesn't really have a style. It's just about information, but they get paid to do it. They get they supplement a lot of their wardrobe through it, and I'm always curious, like, if you weren't being paid by I'll say like Spear & McKay or a Natalino, would you still wear it? Like for me and Spencer, obviously we like, well, Spencer doesn't own Spear & McKay, but I wear Spear & McKay. I like it. I think it's a great product for what it is. This episode's not sponsored by Spear & McKay, by the way. But it's also clear I love Ring Jacket, and if I could, I would replace what I got from Spear & McKay with Ring Jacket or commission it myself from a maker I enjoy. Like, I'm very clear that this is not like what it is, but a lot of people, like, they wear a lot of that, and that's like that's like the only thing. And then they have sales, and then of course you add in the Instagram pod thing where all the same guys who comment have the same pieces. It's a little bit like, I'm not trying to say anything, but there's something fishy going on, or it seems like there's something fishy. And a lot of these people, like, they just use Instagram only, right? Like, they don't even blog anymore. Like, it's just paragraphs on Instagram about.
And who reads that shit, as you said before?
Exactly. And I'm also kind of concerned. Maybe if they do, like, that's crazy. It's even before, right? Instagram didn't let you do what's it called, spaces or page breaks or whatever.
Breaks. I mean,
yeah, they didn't let you do that.
I know that there is a way to do it in the app, but I just go to a website that does the formatting for you.
They let you do. They let you do it now.
Really? Do you just like hit enter twice?
Yeah, but you have to make sure there's no space after the period.
See, even sometimes when there's no space, it still doesn't work.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, check that out, guys.
Yeah.
But I think, again, one thing here, and this could also, big disclaimer here, like, this could just be the taste and how Spencer and I approach social media, because, we are obviously not on this to find out what the next big thing is, right? Like, we tend to find stuff out through friends, the original influencers, as it were. But all the content is just menswear. There's no, like, life. Even the stories are all like products, right? And like, check out my review. And again, maybe Spencer and I are also guilty of this because maybe our content is also menswear content. But I like to think that there's some funny shit in there, or there's some regular life, Also, with those review-based, or most of these menswear it's like, the shots are the same, dude. Like, they're all with like they all have like a fucking home studio that they probably convinced whatever their partner is, their family, to like make, and they have it like with like a blue, gray, or gray background with like a drape thing, and they shoot their content there, and it's only that. There's no,
you scroll
idea,
through the feed and it's like just a bunch of the same
Yeah.
image over and over again.
Yeah, I would love it if like they have that Sinclair Media thing where like all the script is the same. I kind of want to check and see if like the talking points are the same. You know what I mean? Because hey, if you guys didn't know, influencers are sent talking briefs, like like things to hit. I mean, the difference is with us, with a podcast, like it's like an ad read, right? Like it's usually something that's kind of related, maybe not really, and it's done pre the content. But when the content itself is the talking points, it's so jarring to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're always in pursuit of like the latest product or brand. Usually it's internet based. it, they don't really have a lot of like, I don't know. They don't have even not just in terms of pictures, but like in terms of actual style. Like it's a lot of the same. A shot of the pleated high-waisted trouser, a turtleneck, and a jacket. Like there's no tie usually, or there's like just a spread collar shirt, or there's a like a polo shirt. It's usually very plain, and if anything, it's rather boring. You know, and you know, again, like it always makes me question, like, was it given to you at a discount? Are you giving it for free? Or are they paid for it? Would they review about it? Or would they review or talk about it if they weren't getting it for free or being paid to do that? You know, and what happens when you can't buy new products or shop, right? I know that when Permanent Style has started to talk about things that are not reviews, because obviously COVID, maybe he's unable to go to trunk shows or whatever. And he did talk about like trying like the mock neck and talk about Bergenberg. I don't know if it was very favorable toward Bergenberg because he called it like, oh yeah, it's not, well, I could be paraphrasing here. You guys should check it out. It's still a good read, but you know, talking about like value versus price. And, you know, obviously Bergenberg is not in pursuit of like the highest quality. So I don't know if he, like it kind of feels like he considered that a mark against Bergenberg.
Yeah,
in a sense.
It was out of his wheelhouse a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And he also didn't seem to like the pieces that Andreas gave him. He's all like, oh, I prefer what Andreas is actually wearing than what this is. And Andreas is a really great guy. If you want to talk about influencer, in a sense, the designer or the creative director behind Bergenberg, great style. A lot of these people, again, a lot of people we follow tend to be creative directors, people who actually have a hand in creating these products, as opposed to just review-based content. But yeah, it becomes stale. In most cases, not much area for experimentation. And why? Because people come to you for your thoughts on the product itself, not on how you wear it, not on expanding your style. It is there for, oh, this is how the shoulders fit. This is everything here. Here's the price. Here's the latest thing. And it's just not editorial, basically, you know, and I think that's why Spencer, again, like we said, we follow, if not the creative directors, but the people who actually work at those places, even shop guys, because then you kind of see what they picked from the store and how they wear it themselves, you know. So a lot of this, as we move on, it just kind of is my issues with hustle culture. We've talked about it already. Like there's, at the end of the day, we can't judge you if this is what you want to do with your life. Like it's like a job. We get it. You know, it's tough out there, right? A lot of people, you know, like I remember, this is not menswear, but I remember a couple of people, like a girl was in med school. She did some modeling on the side. She became an Instagram modeling person. And hey, I'd rather take a picture with a boba drink as opposed to having a man's life in my hands. I don't know. Like that's just me, you know. So I get it, you know. But the sad part here is that, and this is something that I kind of started out with, where when I got into menswear, it kind of shows, oh, you should make money off of doing this. You should write about this and make money. And I think a lot of people kind of went that way, you know. And this is, okay, I'm not going to say any names here because we are friendly online. You know, I don't want to be that politically correct about this whole thing. But, you know, this guy, you know, broke 50,000 followers or what? He broke a milestone, and he said like, "Oh, if you guys didn't engage with me," I'm paraphrasing, "I would have stopped doing this a long time ago." And I think that's the stupid ass thing that I've ever heard in my life.
I've been seeing that so much, like people posting on their story. It's like it costs $0 for you to like my content, and it's like, I know, like
yeah, like what the fuck? And see,
yeah.
And see, the thing is right now, that makes it so weird is, see, you're bending over backwards to get something from someone that costs them no money to do. Like that's insane, right? And the fact that you know, obviously you can make a lot of money by being an influencer, or at the very least get clothes from it or whatever. And it's sad that people kind of aspire to do that, you know, make passive income and eventually full-time income. And the thing is, there's that the thing that I hate is that it's not worth it if you can't make money from it. And that I hate so much. Like that is absolutely just a stab in my belief system, because,
well, again, I guess it's like, it's going to depend on whether or not you're trying to do this full time.
Yeah. and of course,
or
and if
you
you're
have another gig.
Right, and a lot of people transition to doing this, and a lot of the smart people move out of it. A lot of influencer campaign managers, talent managers are older or are ex-influencers, which is pretty smart, right? You kind of get out of social media and you do
Yeah.
an actual job because as we'll talk about, maybe we'll mention later on, right? The death of the influencer. Instagram almost got rid of likes, right? Or they did. They just say that people liked it. They don't say how many people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or and so. And a lot of people are like, oh shit, how am I going to have the metric to show these campaigns, right? And that's exactly it, right? So you got to have transition to a quote real job as opposed to a social media lifestyle job. But let's see all these guys, speaking of like investing money in it, like these guys will put a lot of effort into it. Like they'll buy sometimes they'll buy a website, they'll buy a camera, they'll buy, they'll start, doing stuff to kind of recoup their losses. Cause like they don't want to spend money on this hobby. They want to find a way to get it for free. There is no room for doing it for just the art or passion, and, unfortunately for guys who were late to the game, who didn't start mentor blogging in 2009 or who didn't do Instagramming in 2012, a lot of guys do really shitty things early on. There'll be a shill for, I don't know about H&M, but I don't know, like Express maybe, or random internet brands. And okay, I guess I'll talk about it. Like early on, one of the first blog posts I did, this like college like duo gave like, hey, we love your stuff, we would love if you gave us a review, and we'll send you some free bow ties. And I did it because, like I said earlier, your content should be a portfolio of the future content you can produce for a brand. You want it to be as easy for a brand to say yes to you, right? And so I did it. And it was bad because these bow ties were bad. Like they were. You can look it up. I'll put it in the show notes or in the blog post for this one. But there is like it was like a black bow tie with silver anchors on it. There was like
I don't like clothing with anchors on it generally.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I don't want
to sing.
Let's go through the things that if you see it on a piece of clothing, it means that it's bad. So there's anchors, brass knuckles, straight razors. What else?
Skulls, maybe.
Yeah,
skulls go back and forth though. Like, there are some good. There might be some, but yeah, no, I hate it. Arrows, like shout out Mercer and Arrow.
Jesus.
Think about that, man. We could have been the movement watches of pocket handkerchief. Also, we were late to that game. Also, by the way, like that was too bad. We're not the fucking the Thai bar or whatever. Oh yeah, the Thai bar that was fucking everywhere.
I bought shit from the Thai bar in high school.
I did too.
Because it's like, I don't know. I think if you're, so this is maybe a little bit unrelated. If you're like a menswear accessories brand, you have to be in the prom wedding market. That's the only place you could be now if you want to make any money. And that's why I bought from the Thai bars, because I went on dates and I went to prom and my date had a coral dress, and where the fuck am I going to find a coral tie other than the thaibar.com?
Can we stop the idea that you have to match with your date? Can you guys just both just look good? You know what I mean?
Seriously.
We need to end
Get
that, dude. And so yeah, like all this investment that goes into it, right? Like these guys take really shitty stuff, like all those bespoke boxes. Oh, speaking of that, there was I reviewed one because I thought that's what you had to do. I sent it back. Didn't keep anything. Okay, by the way.
Did you know that? Did you think that you were gonna keep it, or were you like, no, I'm just gonna send this back so I just get the content and I don't have to pay for it?
It's called it. That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
I mean that also a couple of info. Again, this is kind of blurring the lines between like a general influencer and a menswear influencer. But like a lot of people will buy, like will get things and return them, right? Like that was kind of a big deal, for like fast fashion brands and everything. And then in terms of menswear, right? Like Indochino, stuff like that, where it's easy to kind of write about and do content on. And it's like, if you want to, these people will invest money in it, right? Like, okay, $300, in the future, I better get an affiliate link that will make me recoup these losses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really sad, that you don't get to do it just for fun. And of course the rabbit hole is bad. When you start to do it as like a job, you have to learn about the algorithm. It would be naive not to think about the algorithm. Instagram pods or cabals. You want your content to look like other people's content, because if you disguise yourself, right, it's easy for people to kind of get into it. Especially the explore page, right? Like, oh, this guy looks similar to what I like. I'm gonna follow that. So there's no room to have anything personal about it, right?
Everything is the same now. It's the same thing happens with movies. It's like, okay, well, we can't make a new movie. We have to make the same movie that was a blockbuster last year with a different cast. And Instagram is the movies
of life.
Yeah.
But no, it seriously is that. Like, people will wear the same thing similarly. Not like it's it's not just the products, which is, again, very smart for influencers, right? Like, if all the top guys are wearing that brand, maybe you should too, right? But the other thing is, like, the photography style is all the same. The actual type of content, right? A lot of this is usually scheduled, and so you always have something to do. Of course, the algorithm prizes content that is posted every day. It says like 3 to 5 stories a day at minimum to gain the engagement, because, as we know, stories don't go to everyone on your Instagram, right? Like, it usually caps out at a certain point, right? A certain fraction of your overall followers. And so, yeah, there's nothing really personal about it that makes me want to follow these people, or that to me at least makes it engaging. It removes taste and personal choice. And obviously there are brands that Spencer and I like that's pretty common in menswear: Drake's, Ring Jacket, a couple of Taylors. But those best brands out there don't really need influencers, at least in the mainstream sense, to peddle them. I'm sure that there, again, as we talked about in the money one, lifestyle one, there are some homie discounts that go on behind the scenes, right? Like seeing Cody Wellamo, who works at Bryceland's, get like a free suit or something. Like, that's not influencer marketing to me. That's just kind of smart in the sense of, like, okay, I'm gonna give it to my friend because this is a brand that they enjoy and it's a good brand, right? Like, it's just like Alden doesn't need to do influencers because people like Alden. They make a good shoe,
It's like, I've heard this with like colleges and lawyers, but I think it's the case for a lot of stuff. When you're really established and really good, you don't need to do ads. I've always been told never to trust a lawyer that does ads and never trust a college that does ads.
Yeah, I mean, that's why. When people say, this is for, this is kind of off topic, but avoid for-profit colleges. Avoid that like the plague. Those things are designed to take advantage of you, and some of them are not accredited. So then your degree will mean nothing from those people. But yeah, and one thing too, I didn't write this in our notes here, but like, their dedication, and they always feel bad when they can't post every day. Like, they'll, like, say something happens, personal tragedy, holidays, maybe they forgot, maybe they just didn't have anything. They'll post a picture that's like from like a long time ago, unrelated, and be like, oh man, sorry guys, I'll be back soon with more content, love ya, XO, Gossip Girl, hashtag ad, or whatever. And it's like, that's just ridiculous. That's just really weird. Obviously, like, I like posting, I have nothing I sell in it. That's why I post pictures of my friends, and I know that pictures of my friends don't get as much engagement, sorry Spencer, as pictures of me. But it's okay, because that's what I like to do. Like, that's just, it's important for me to share those things with people that follow me. And what I also hate is when they don't know what to do at the beginning or the end of every month. They'll do a top of the month or a month in review where all you do is repurpose the content you did and you put it into a grid. And the thing is,
the most likes.
Yeah, sorted by the most likes. And the thing is, right, this makes sense. That they liked it, so then they'll like it again, right? Yeah. It's designed, and it's. Oh,
it's always weird, and it's like, no offense, because I know that you do this sometimes, but I always find it weird when content creators like talk inside baseball about their metrics to their audience. Because like, who gives a shit, man? It's like,
oh, I know. Well, yeah, I know I do it because I always think it's kind of funny where things don't happen, I think there was one time where it's also, to kind of show what goes on, Like I think there was one time I posted something, and I think that was the same day Instagram like crashed, and so like that post went nowhere.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like I was like, it was like I think it was when we hung out at the arcade, and I was like, oh, this is a nice thing that like no one saw, you know.
Yeah.
But it's
I mean,
okay.
it's kind of funny when it's stuff like that when you normally have like, you know, a couple hundred likes and then you get like a dozen on one post. That's kind of funny. But it's like, well, here's how my content has performed over the last 4 months. It's like, man, I don't work for you. Don't tell me this.
Yeah, I'm not the shareholders of your.
Yeah.
The thing is, well, Spencer, you get it, right? Because that's how they view us. We are the shareholders, and our contributions to their stock, aka engagement, are how they get fucking money. It's a weird way of looking at social media, you know. But yeah, I really hate that shit. God, imagine if I did that. Here are my top 5 posts, and it's like pictures of me like in fact, you know, as we move into like how we approach social media and how we avoid it and everything, like, oh my god, we still have, okay, whatever. But like I actually don't like my full body like just like outfit shots, because I feel like that's so normal. But unfortunately, you know, none of my friends are really photographers. We don't really take like all the pictures of my friends are usually like really candid, you know, like there's pictures like Spencer, like there's all the best pictures of Spencer are like when I go like Spencer's like drinking something, and go, hey Spencer, and he like looks over and he'll like do like a little Gatsby thing, which I think is kind of funny. But I'll take that, and I think that's fun. But then me, I can't do that, and if I do it to my tripod, I'm literally manufacturing it, and I don't want to be that guy. And it's usually
I can't pose in like tripod shots. I always feel weird doing that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do, because that's why a lot of those tripod shots are pretty stoic, which maybe we're judging people because they really are awkward in real life. But yeah, you know, I really like all. That's why I post pictures of my friends, because the lifestyle, or I hate that word, but like that the vibe I want is like showing people in their natural habitat. You know, sometimes it's a portrait, like a, you know, like a sitting portrait of like an artisan that I enjoy, or someone I admire. But you know, I always make sure to post like the really random candid stuff, because I love that, you know. And at the end of the day, like social media should just be what makes you happy, because it's free. Like it costs nothing to do it.
It costs nothing to like and retweet my posts.
Yeah, exactly, and we love that you do it. But like, I don't think you need to muddy it with capitalism, and even if barring that, obligations, because the fact that you're gonna do that means, okay, you have to write the review, you got to push the content out. And for me, you know, this is a big difference too, where I sometimes have a great fit, or no, not sometimes, it's always great, and I want to share it, or I took a really great picture of Spencer or my partner, or you know, whoever it is, you know, or like film pictures, and the fact that I have to push it out for something that I signed up for, absolutely hate that. Like, I want to post it whenever I want, but because you put money into it, these people are paying you to do it, or they're giving something, you're kind of indebted, you're obligated to do that, and it just makes that situation really weird, you know. And yeah, it's just really unsettling that you have to do that, and I really hate that. As you guys know, if you guys have watched our stream on how we make outfits, like, you guys know I get inspired to make outfits randomly, and when something happens like rain that makes you not be able to wear that outfit, I get mad, because I'm like, fuck, it goes in the backlog and I gotta wait now, and I'll make another outfit later. It's just it's ridiculous, you know. And I just kind of want to do whatever I want, so the easy way to do it is just have some fun for it, you know. And
the issue is that we live in a society and everything is muddled by capitalism.
You know, Spencer, why don't you answer this? You know, what happens when you take a mentally ill loner with a society that doesn't care about him anymore?
Listen, Joker, I think we've had enough of your tricks, okay? We've had enough of your tricks for one day.
I'm the Joker, baby. But yeah, if your goal really is to lead to money, like, you know, with social media, like, make it like a real like portfolio, or use it. I don't know, like, there are better ways. Like, use LinkedIn, dude. Like do something.
I have a quest for influencers. At least just make your content look cool. Because I mean, I don't know, like, just I'm talking like the most basic ass Explorer page, like influencers, and the more like menswear influencers that we've talked about. Like, it just doesn't look cool. I know that you can make ads look cool. It's like I'm still not gonna like it, but make it good for me to look at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
Just
and
just
that
be a
goes
little
with,
bit more relaxed, man. Come on.
yeah. And it's just really annoying when everything is like that. But like, yeah, like I think that the best, again, like all the quote underscore lowercase influencer that we like, are people who create something. They are creatives. I hate that when you're a content creator and you are creative. I think that that's so dumb. Like that's not it. But if you are a you can be an actual model, right? Like the James Jonathan Turner. Like he has a lot of followers, but he posts his work that he's done.
Yeah.
Like he's showing what he was paid for to do previously, right? You can be a photographer, right? Countless guys, that's how they get money. Like, and a lot of them get their jobs through Instagram, right? Like, I've gotten jobs like, hey, I want someone to shoot this, so I can do that. You can be a writer. Like, there's a couple of journalists. Like, I'm sure if Bruce Boyer was our age, he would be a stylish guy, and he would post about his writing or permanent style or whatever, and then you would get a job through that. There's a lot of guys who contribute to The Rake or Ivy Styler or whoever that are writers. There's and those things, because they are your job, they don't require you to be on while you're on social media. Like you're not it's just different, and that makes it better. And when your life when your job is in menswear, all the cool lifestyle perks of menswear or those things that we associate with it will come naturally. You probably will read W.M. Brown. You probably will have a nice, whiskey shot. I think it's fine if you want to share the picture of it. That's cool too. Obviously W.M. Brown has made it aspirational to take those pictures, and he's a very big influencer. He also has his own magazine.
I posted a cigar and whiskey shot on Instagram when we went to our friend Jay's birthday earlier this year.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've definitely copied his Negroni shot when I'm holding, and it's not holding meat. I'm holding whatever I happen to be eating. I'm drinking boba. But I think W.M. Brown, even though he's an influencer and yes, he works with certain watches, I think that it's no offense to the other ones, but I think he's got a little bit better taste. You know what I mean? Like, even if there is the Petrosian stuff, even there is caviar and stuff that we don't really associate with. Like J. Muser is a good tailoring brand. You know what I mean? Like that stuff is good. What else? Like, yeah, obviously Leicas and stuff, but Leicas are good cameras, it's all that kind of stuff. The tailor that he's friends with, that, the Italian guy, I forgot what his name is, that's on the cover of a couple of W.M. Brown stuff. That's good. Being into vintage barbers, that's good, because all that kind of stuff, I don't know, like, that stuff that it's not tied to an affiliate link. He's not doing it that way, and
barber doesn't need the bump.
Exactly. And if you're talking about making merch, and as we move into later on the death of influencers and everything, like he made a magazine. It kind of makes sense, right? Like you can sell that as a product that can feature the writing, the work of other people, your photography, other people's photography. That makes more sense. And
what is a magazine but the old school way of doing an Instagram feed? Before you had Instagram, it was just Lifetime.
That's true. Lifetime magazine.
Time Life.
Yeah. Yeah, and so yeah, it's good to have a job that doesn't require you to be on all the time. And again, at the end of the day, most of our people that we like are regular guys. Like, that's why we liked Chase and Matt, who, yeah, they work in menswear. Yeah, it's a little bit polished because, they have photographers, they have photographer friends, but they work in their thing, and there's it's the delineations between work and play, or work and a ideal socialized social media is a lot more clear. Those delineations. They usually have a brand or some service to offer, and of course you can also, if you want to, you can turn into a made to measure brand, like say like Articles of Style, right? Like they went from being a blogger to they were sponsored for a while by some bespoke New York tailor, and then eventually they did their own thing, and that's kind of like a natural progression, right? And as you guys know, there are Substacks and Patreons if you want to just contribute direct, or you can do that if people really want to contribute to content. Usually that means that you should have a content people like to consume. I don't think that a regular person should just have patrons. Like, I think that the difference there is, and you become like a 24-hour live streamer where people pay you to do whatever they want, whatever you want. And that's, hey, normalize sex work. That's fine too. And also not all live streaming is sex work. Just make that clear. But there are ways to do it. I have a couple of friends who, not menswear, but like they'll write about like finance and their stock stuff, and I'm not super into the whole Robinhood trading stock stuff, but if people think their advice is nice, you can subscribe to their Substack, right?
The advice so nice you read it twice.
That's right. What's it called? A continuous lean. Uh, I don't know the history about that. I don't know how much of an influencer he is. But like David Coggins, he's a literal writer, right? He
Yeah.
wrote for a couple of stuff, so his life is in that. But like his posts aren't sponsored, I don't think. But him and he and ACL have started a Substack. So if you want to read their stuff and contribute to them, you can subscribe to it. And they have they have a podcast that you can also listen to if you're in the Substack. I don't listen to it. I don't know what it's like, but hey now, they should have called it that instead of what. Well, what is it? Oh, it's a Central Division, which...
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's called Central Division.
Okay. Sure, yeah. Okay.
It should have been called Hey. He says all the time, you know what I mean? But yeah, there's... that's kind of why... or what the alternative is. And of course, as you guys know, we have a Patreon. We appreciate everyone who contributes to us. And like we said, we would keep doing this even if we didn't have a Patreon. It might, it might have been easier for us to kind of take a break as we did for a long time in between episodes, in between stuff, because we weren't being paid. And you might argue that the inclusion of money makes us do this more regularly, but we're being patronized.
Don't patronize us.
Yeah, but it's by our friends and colleagues and people who genuinely enjoy it, and we are very lucky that we're able to be able to just kind of record ourselves talking.
I mean, as we'll get in, it's a much more stable source of income than doing ads or sponsored content.
Because when you're in pursuit of ads, you have to make sure your content performs well.
Mm-hmm.
And as we will say later on, it would be love it if you gave us 5 stars so other people would find this podcast. But again, like we do pay. It does take some work out of me and Spencer to make these stuff, and especially Matt and MJ don't get on like, to do this regularly and everything. But we all kind of enjoy it enough that we just kind of do it for fun, and we did do it for a long time just for fun. Same thing with the blog. Like the blog is just .wordpress.com, because I knew that if I put money into it, I would feel this kind of need that I would have to find a way to recoup that. The podcast does cost like $16 a month to host or whatever, with and some change. $20 a month, we'll call it $20 a month or whatever, and that's kind of fine because the podcast is a little bit more interesting. But because I write for the blog so often, it's like, okay, if I'm gonna put money into it, I gotta make sure the blog's all pretty, gotta buy hosting, gotta make sure I gotta get a theme for it, maybe do some website. It's a little too much work for me to do something that I want to focus on the writing and the photography, which is kind of, again, the main focus of the blog and everything.
Well, because the other thing, as we've talked about, once the blog becomes monetized, then you can't use whatever images you want anymore, which is a huge thing.
Because then it gives a reason for people to sue you. you know? And so that's kind of a big issue there. I'm curious to how Die Workwear does it. I think he probably finds it on Tumblr, because his stuff is hosted on Tumblr, so maybe there's a little bit more leeway there. I haven't been asked to take down anything of mine, but it's something that I think about as just being kind of safe. And again, the blog has enjoyed its clout or whatever, ups and downs. Not every blog post performs well. Like, people don't care about the L Bean sport vest, but people care more about, like, when I wrote about Alden's, which makes sense, right? Because Alden's matter more to people than some random ass short jacket that people don't really know or think is cool. But it's what I'm into, right? And that's why it's always going to be free, because it's what I want. Like, I think early on too, a freelance guy who I think has written articles for Gentleman's Gazette sent me an email, and this was like 2017. I don't know if Spencer remember this, but he said, like, hey, you can pay me, it'll be a very low rate, I can write about stuff for you, I have training in tailoring, in food and stuff, so that way you can focus on building your brand. And I'm like, what brand? Like, I don't know what that is. Like, I turned him down because I'm like, oh, I don't have the bandwidth for that, and I don't really think that I would do it. But like, at the end of the day, if whatever is on the blog, I would want to write about it, like, myself. And that's kind of a big thing. And that's why Spencer hasn't really written anything. He written like once or twice, because like the Batwing tie was something I was kind of into, but he owned one, so I'm like, okay, we should write about that. But at the end of the day, it is just kind of what I view on what I view on menswear, like what it is I like, and all the people that I enjoy, and the profiles of people, and especially the events. Like, I don't think it's also great to sponsor me to write about an event, because that's weird. Like, I'm writing about like regular life. Like, hey, look at me and my friends who went to McDonald's. Here's the pictures. That's not really something that people would want to sponsor, And at the end of the day, like, we also don't. I mean, Spencer doesn't want to be a menswear personality. No, that's not what your goal is.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's like, I don't have the same I guess, compulsion to be
Yeah.
open in all aspects of my life as you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like I don't post on Instagram very often anymore. Once every couple weeks, and it's partly because my job requires me to post on Instagram every day or every other day, and usually I'm like, that's enough for me.
I mean, yeah.
But
Don't,
it's again.
yeah.
I mean, it's again. It's like going back to I just want Instagram and everything I do in my free time. I want it to be done on my terms. Like I want to do it when I feel like it. Yeah.
That's, and I've managed social media in the past, and luckily it was in menswear, and there wasn't anything tied to sales overtly, so it was a lot easier. So I can understand that if at your job, if your thing is to post constantly because your job wants those kind of things, it can be pretty tiring, Yeah. And that's also why I had to get out of it, at least for my main job. And again, also like one big thing for us is that, again, all the brands that we like aren't interested in doing sponsorships. We're not going to get anything from fucking Alden. We're not going to get anything from Ring Jacket for free or from Drake's. I mean, we've gotten some stuff because like homies, but like that's not like it's not because of our content.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not.
It's because we're friends,
Yeah.
I mean, they probably know we're gonna tag them. Like they know what they're doing, but there's not that kind of more formalized kind of agreement or whatever influencer talking points brief and everything, and. Again, like my point in posting all the time is to kind of, as I said in the stream or maybe even in the podcast, I want people to view clothes the way we do, not in that you want to dress like us, but in that kind of way that is, kind of open and more referential or postmodern or whatever, like looking at it in a way that's, a little bit different. Yeah. And that's not something you can monetize, but I do want to be considered at least a little bit like an authority a little bit, but more so like, hey, look, Ethan and his friends and community all wear this stuff. Maybe that's a reason for me to look at it that way, Well,
because again, there's still a huge difference between being an influencer and being an authority on something. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just because it's happening on social media, but as we were saying earlier in the episode, so many people think anyone who talks about anything on social media and has more than 1,000 followers is an influencer. And I mean, it's like, come on, influencer. That it's just weird. It's just a weird thing.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I walk through that line a lot. Like what exactly that means, and I know we've talked with our friend Aldous about it because he's kind of concerned if I went down that lane. But at the end of the day, like I think that thankfully Spencer and I and MJ and Matt, don't get on mic, like we approach it differently. And that when I say when I want to be an authority, it's more so like I want people to just kind of learn something. And I always say that when people ask where I get ideas, I'm very honest where I get my inspiration from. I say, oh, Chase dressed like that. Mark Cho did that. Bryceland's did that. Or I saw an old illustration, look up these Tumblrs. And I want people to do that, and those people I think are more deserving of the followers and everything because they actually contribute stuff, like the guys who back in those days, like on Golden Era suits or whatever, or people who in the vintage community who would take the time out of the day to scan the old illustrations. Like I wouldn't have been able to get that without them, and when I share it, I make sure everything I write about is kind of a narrative, like, oh, here's how I came to this thing. If you learn something from it, great, And
if you didn't, well, learn how to read, bozo.
Yeah. Can you hear what I'm saying? Wait, hearing is different than reading. My bad.
Get a cohere implant, bozo.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of like what we think about, influencers and hustle culture and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how the future is gonna be. I know that IG and YouTube have been I don't know about YouTube, but I actually have seen a YouTube account that had their subscriber count was hidden. Like there was nothing there.
Really?
And it was I could tell you who it was. It was Bumble, and I think that's weird. Like that's
like the dating app. Like their YouTube account has hidden.
Yeah,
followers?
They're trying to be like Jubilee or Cut or like like they have like those like dating or fear videos or interviews with like couples or whatever. It's okay, but like they're removing sub count. They're trying to foster organic engagement. But then see the thing is, so here's what we found out, right? They're removing that because why? The third-party people, again, like the influencer campaigns or the brands that are trying to contact, they're making the money, right? Instagram's not making the money. So what did Instagram do instead? they're making it a shopping platform now.
Yep.
Because now, if you post your products on there, from like you can buy it from the brand, they're gonna get a percentage cut now, right? And that's hey, talk about cutting out the middleman. Now brands themselves will have to be famous, or they'll have to have a lot of followers, because then that's how you get people to go to the site, because an influencer account can't sell anything. They're not a business. They're not tied to a Shopify or a Facebook marketplace account, right? So I'm really curious to see what happens there. Are we going to see a new era of where brands are going to be influencers themselves, and that's
God.
maybe
I mean,
why...
it's like this is obviously much different than like menswear influencers, but like talking about brands being influencers themselves, I'm thinking about all the sassy brands on Twitter, not Instagram, but like Twitter. You find like Wendy's being like tweeting at like McDonald's. It's like, hey bitch, like your burger sucks, and then Baskin Robbins replies, it's like, this makes me want to kill myself.
And that's a break.
I kind of want Drake's to like do that. I do want Drake's to like roast people's fits on Instagram, and it's like, why don't you go to fucking Bergenberg, dumbass? And then Bergenberg replies, I have depression.
Those classic Swedes, am I right, guys?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think that, we obviously haven't talked a lot about menswear content itself. We talked about lifestyle of the people who work there, but it is something for the future, right? Like, I think Drake's, at least during the heyday era of like 2016 to 2018, that when they used their own shop people as influencers, kind of, or as content, where it felt very natural, and they did, like, they literally like went out to eat dinner and they had Fred shoot it, and then they they use the content from that. I think that's super cool. Obviously now brands don't do that as much. It's very rare. But I'm really curious to see the future of this whole thing, where the influencer, where the clout is going to move on to, because as we know, it's always going to follow the money, and that's always where the effort's going to be. Were you going to make an all of the president's men joke?
Yeah, just follow the money. But I mean, yeah, as you said, it's like what you would classic vision of influencers from a couple of years ago is all gone, and now they're just selling merch. Like that's like the new way to make money if you are an influencer that's
especially
not a
streamers, TikTok too, because there is no way to directly monetize a TikTok because you never know how it's going to perform, right? There are some sponsored ones, but then that's why all the TikTokers, as soon as they get to like a 10,000 or whatever, as soon as they can start going live, they create a Discord, and then they create a merch. They create merch.
Well, this is again a thing that happens on Twitter and not Instagram, and I don't know if you've seen this, but anytime there's like a viral tweet, like the replies will all be from that like person. They got messages from brands. It's like, oh, you liked this, like you liked this tweet about like, my penis. Like buy these lights for your room. Like buy this cool like fucking like pillow or whatever.
Good God, dude.
Yeah, that's another weird thing, is just regular people becoming sucked into the influencer machine anytime they have a tweet go viral.
I will say though, like as a caveat, as we close this out, I can see the appeal, because first off, you want your life to be cool. You want to do whatever, you want whatever seems quote organic, to be monetizable. But it also shows you that the job market sucks. Mm-hmm. It's so hard to get a job out there. A lot, like I said, this person was trying to fund their way through like med school, right? And then they became an influencer, and that's cool. Like, and I did make a joke about not wanting to be a doctor, but it's also like med school does cost a lot of money. Some doctors go and they're, if you don't get accepted to residency at a hospital, what are you gonna do with all your fucking med school bills, right? Like, it's tough out there, and I can see why the influencer pathway makes so much. It's attractive to people, whether it is menswear, because like, you find a way to get money from reviewing Spear and McKay every time and talking about every drop, and here's my top 5 picks from each thing, and you gotta do that and follow my link to get this stuff, but in perception, on paper, it does seem like it's an attractive alternative to a regular job, right? But I will say, don't forget that jobs should give you health care, and jobs should have more, try and find something with more security, because as we see, Instagram, YouTube, all this kind of platforms there's still uncertainty, even though these platforms are probably not going away anytime soon. The internet's not gonna like fucking shut off.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a couple times when people like when Instagram was down for a day, people were like, oh shit, what do I do? If I had like a sponsored post supposed to go that day, what happens? Do I not get paid for that? I can't follow through. So I would say try and find find a real job that can support you, but then it's
get a real job.
Sometimes it's hard. Like I said, the money one, it was tough for me to find one. And Spencer with journalism.
I mean, it's like, hey, I gotta say, it's like if I had a tweet go viral and someone messaged me and said, hey, I'll pay you $50 to like just post a link. It's like, yeah, I think it's weird, but I get it. Like, I get it.
Yeah, it's only when it starts, when you realize, like, if that's the way it is, it should be that easy, right? Like, I know some people who aren't influencers who have, like, well, I don't know the delineation, but, like, like, they have, like, 4,000 or 5,000 followers, they're pretty, they're attractive, they're fit, they have a cool lifestyle. Yeah. For like, give me $100 to go to your boba place, try the new boba, get some free boba. Like, that's fine. But it's when you start pursuing it so much, and when you start chasing and going down the rabbit hole and realizing how much more you get to put in there, and seeing like how you have to change it up and basically alter your life in pursuit of that, that's where it gets pretty problematic. And if that's what you want to do, then fine. But be very conscious of it. Might not last forever. And people nowadays are a lot more conscious of ads, of sponsorships. Of that kind of thing. And like, that's also why people want it. Like, I guess this is why people want to draw people into like menswear or like watches, or fashion watches, because the more new people are into it, it's the entry level, right? Because you want to get them before they know any better. And that population, even though we get more people born every day, I think people are getting smarter. So at some point it will have to shift.
Yeah, I mean, as you were talking about last night, like marketing, like what you're supposed to do in marketing changes every couple months. Yep. And I mean, it's like the internet, obviously, like, it's a fucking like huge part of the world, but it's also like been like like super mainstream for only 20 years or so.
Yeah. Like
25 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's still an incredibly like new industry.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same in like a decade or more.
Yeah, or even next year,
Exactly,
like, yeah. So again, like, all power to you, but I don't know. I would never want to be a human billboard. That's just.
It's
just,
yeah.
I would hate,
yeah.
And everything be scheduled.
It's too much.
Yeah, and again, we've done some partnerships before. Like, we made the Ethan bag, but we love that thing. The sad part is I don't actually use it as much because I use my canvas tote bag because it actually zips at the top. It's a little bit, and it can take a beating more. But but like, that's what we like. What's it called? W.M. Brown collaborated with Fox Brothers to make like the Negroni tweed, and people bought that, and it's a good fabric.
How about like, hey, like the Throwing Fits? They've done a couple really cool collabs, and I mean, it's like
they also collaborated with Bonobos though, so
yeah.
But
I mean, the more recent stuff, the shoes they've been making have been pretty cool.
Yeah, the DM or DM, whatever.
It's like a difference between being an influencer and being, a popular guy that that is selling a genuinely cool looking product.
Yeah, like the John Mayer G-Shock watch. I think that's kind of cool.
And maybe the whole difference is like what makes it an influencer is if we like it, then it's not an influencer.
Yeah, we again, like I said, this is all based on our taste. This could just be a whole podcast of bad takes, Yeah. But yeah, I think that'll kind of do it for us today. I mean, again, be wary on social media if that's what you want to do, and everything.
Don't believe everything you read on the internet, kids.
Yeah, that's right. This is one of our classic episodes where don't listen to this podcast. Or
don't listen to us. I shouldn't be influencing anything.
Yeah.
Don't make me an influencer.
Yeah. Please don't give me free money to post about thing. Hey, if McDonald's wants to give me some. I say that, but I'm like, I mean, dude, they had McDonald's content.
Okay, so they had the Travis Scott burger. They did another one right after that I didn't hear as much about. So if they said, okay, you're gonna make an Ethan Wong burger, that's available for 2 weeks, what would be on it?
Nuggets.
Wait, just a burger with nuggets? Like,
That's right.
on the burger?
That's right. That's it.
That seems like it wouldn't be very structurally sound. Like, you hold on to it, the nuggets would burst through the bread.
No, it's like you put mozzarella sticks inside a burger, so it's like it's inside the burger.
Oh, wait, so it's patty, and the nuggets are inside the patty?
No, well, like, it's like a layer in the burger.
Okay. Okay,
yeah.
Sure.
You've ever put like French fries in your burger?
I mean, I feel like what my thing is that I feel like the nuggets are too dense and too thick. You could make like a spread of nuggets, or if you had like a thinner nugget patty. But if you just took a couple nuggets, I don't think it would be sound.
Hey McDonald's, if you're listening, we got to make this happen. We got to do some McDonald's engineering and make this work. How about this? Yeah. You have a patty and there's indentations for where the nuggets go into.
There you go.
It's like a capsule part of the patty.
So you have to have like a very special spatula or smash thing, whatever, that has a mold of nuggets in it.
That's right.
Do you remember a couple years ago when Carl's Jr. made like a hot dog burger? Where they just put like a hot dog on top of a burger?
No.
So fast food, like novelty fast food stuff, like normally in the pictures they try to make it look appetizing. Even in the picture, that thing looked gross. I'll send you a picture of that too. How about the Whopper, the Whopperito?
We'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah, the Whopperito. You know about that one? No. It was a burrito with the ingredients of a Whopper. So just ground beef and lettuce in like a tortilla.
What the fuck? God, I hate this. God.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for being with us through this 2020. I know it's been tough for a lot of people.
Why, what happened?
The virus, the social media virus.
The social media virus killed all the influencers.
That's right. Again, it's been fun because I mean, the conversation for us making a Patreon was a pretty important one because we didn't want to be like this. We didn't want to be chomping after the bit and chasing down the rabbit hole of making engaging stuff. But we're very happy that we've had a small but very, very engaging community on Discord that contributes to the podcast, the blog, and the stream. Mm-hmm.
No, it's great in there. It's a lot of fun. There's we have over 50 members now. It's pretty active. Almost every time I load up Instagram, there's like new messages in a couple of the channels.
That's right.
Not Instagram, Discord.
Yeah. What's it called? So yeah, if you want to support us, again, you don't have to. We'll still be here making the stuff. But
it costs you $0 to like our content on Instagram.
But it costs you $5 on Patreon to support us. Patreon.com/downdirection. Feel free to give if that's what you want. And we also have a couple of Sadcast fanatics who are top tier patrons of our Patreon. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. I don't know what it is. But thank you to Seth Peterson, Eric Hall, Austin Malott, Shane Curry, Philip Gagard, and Audrey Jessica. Again, this is like, they're very happy, and until they start making demands,
they're very happy.
Yeah, I would say until they start making demands for us to do stuff for their money, we're in a good place.
Yeah.
And again, if you don't want to, or if you don't want to support on Patreon, giving us 5 stars on your podcast platform, specifically if you have an iPhone and you're listening to on the Apple Podcast app, that would be very appreciated for us to get a new audience and expand. Because like I said, it's more more patrons is cool, but it's more important for people to kind of see what we have to talk about because we're not in the menswear circuit. We're not really interviewing people. We're kind of just talking about our takes, what good or bad. Big thank you to Matt and MJ for producing the podcast. My Instagram is @EthanMWong.
I'm Spencer DSO.
We stream twice a week on Twitch, Wednesdays and Saturdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Wednesday is gaming only. Saturday is our big old topics.
This isn't coming out for a couple weeks, but I do predict we'll probably still be doing some like zombies, or maybe, by the time this comes out, I think the new Squadrons update will be out. So get ready for some Cold War zombies and some Hot War, Star War, live people in spaceships.
What? Cold
War zombies, and then Hot War alive people in spaceships.
That's so bad. Okay, guys. Hope you have a very great 2020. We'll see you guys in 2021.
2021. Wait. You hope people have a great 2020?
Well, or make the most of the end of the year.
Yeah. Enjoy the end of the year. Next year.
This comes out before January 1st, 2021.
Oh, I thought this was the first episode of 2020 or 2021. Now I'm saying it.
Yeah,
Well, anyway, enjoy the new year, everybody.
We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh!